And we are live. Okay. Uh, so I'm guessing people are logging in from different places of the world. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Abhishek Roy. I'm a final year MEng student studying biomedical engineering at Imperial. I'm also the academic departmental representative, and I'll be one of the students who will be participating in this panel. And we're here to answer your questions as offer holders about what life is like at Imperial, what it's like to be a student. We've got a really diverse panel set up with master students, undergraduate students, international students, home and EU students, all to answer all these kinds of questions. So before we start, I want to just give you a little bit of a brief overview of how this session will work. We're going to be sticking to our time commitments and stopping at 12 on the dot. So if you hover your mouse around the bottom of your screen, you should see an area where there's a Q&A, a question and answer. That's where you can send us questions. So please do send us questions over there. We've also pre-received some questions before the session started. In case we have some extra time, we'll go over those. You can also like questions. You can upvote them, and we'll answer questions that are upvoted faster than other questions. Another thing that may happen is if you have a question that's a little individual, we may not answer it verbally, but we may type out an answer to you and send it over there. In case there are some questions that we can't get to in the time constraints of this session, please feel free to email the admissions department of Bioengineering. Lastly, before we start, there's also a feedback form that's been sent to you along with the link to join this meeting. Once this meeting is over, I'd humbly request you to spend 5 minutes just filling that out, because this is the first time we've run sessions like this, and we want to understand if they're helpful and how to improve them in the future. All right, so without further ado, I'm now going to pass it over to the rest of my panel, and they're going to introduce themselves. Please just have a listen for what they do, what they're interested in. You might find some similar people here, and you can ask them some good questions. All right, so without further ado, we can start with Dimitra.
Hi, my name is Dimitra, and I'm a third-year biomedical student. I am originally from Greece, but I grew up in America. And I am the president of the Bioengineering Society. I also play ice hockey.
Hello, my name is Rhea and I finished my first year in the molecular bioengineering course. I'm originally from Albania, so I'm an international student, and I came to the UK 3 years ago to start my IB studies. This year, I served as an academic representative, and next year I'll be a hall senior in Biohall. When I'm not studying, you can find me playing sports, reading nonfiction books, or playing the piano. And I'm very keen on representing my peers' concerns to the department and making sure everyone has a say in decisions that affect their academics and well-being.
Alan? Oh, sorry, Neri. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Nedi, and I'm a master's student of biomedical engineering, specifically the biomechanics stream, and I'm the academic rep for that cohort. I'm an international student, I'm Nigerian, I enjoy volunteering, I like to teach, I enjoy reading, and I'm a member of the arts club. So if you have any specific questions regarding settling in London as an international student, especially from Africa, I'm really happy to help you with those questions.
Hi, my name is Carlos. I'm the representative for the Masters in Biomedical Engineering, but in the Neurotechnology stream. This is as well as for Nadi, my first year in London. I love as hobbies reading, that I'm very keen to just going around sessions, going into seminars in the biomedical department, and you'll probably find me there. And yeah, if you have any questions regarding neurotechnology, or as an EU student, any questions regarding how is it living in London or anything like this, just ask me.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I'm currently a second year undergrad student, so next year I'll be going to third year. I was the treasurer of the Bioengineering Society, and for next year, I would then be the treasurer for the CGC, which you can look it up online, which is basically the engineering body for the whole Imperial sub-societies. It's not, yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan, and the rest of the panel. So we're going to jump into questions. One of the most common questions that we get as a student panel is, what is it like starting off at Imperial? What does your average week look like? What does your day look like? And for that, I think, Rhea, you might be the best answer for the undergrads, and then we'll pass it over to the master students.
Yes. So regarding the contact hours, I think it's 25 contact hours per week, meaning lectures, study groups, etc., like labs. So other than that, like when you're not required to be in school, in terms of attending stuff, you're gonna be either studying, which is honestly something very personal, and there's plenty of things you might enjoy doing. For example, joining a society, of which there are like more than 350 or something. So you're definitely going to find something to do. And obviously exploring London, which is one of the greatest cities to live in as a student. Like there's always plenty of things to do. So it really depends on the time of the year as well. Like if it's Freshers Week, obviously it's going to be different from a week where you're preparing for exams. So it depends on you and time of the year, etc., etc. So there's not one particular time, one particular typical week of an Imperial student.
Fair enough. And just to round that up, how many hours would you say you study, say, on your own in a week?
So before I came to Imperial, I saw in the website that there was suggested 6-point-something hours per day, but obviously that varies a lot depending on the subject. For example, if you're very familiar with a particular subject, of course, you're not going to spend as much time studying for it. Whereas if it's something more challenging, you should be studying obviously even more than what a normal student will do. So
just to confirm, is that 6.5 hours with your lectures?
No, it's like it says independent studies, so I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah. So okay, so we're looking to about 2 to 3 hours, I think, on your own.
Okay.
I think the 6.5 is there. Okay, so Neddy, how is it for you starting off, and what does your week look like usually?
Okay, so the master's program of biomedical engineering is slightly intensive. In my first semester, I had classes almost every day. So it's usually a mix of classes, study groups, and then when we started the project, personal lab work. So I'd say there's a lot of like hard studying involved because the master's program is different in the sense that you have to do a lot of learning on your own. But the professors are always like on hand to assist with whatever questions you have, and Imperial Library has a lot of resources. I'd also add that aside to the study, you should also take out time to try and explore London because I mean we're here for just 1 year, and it's easy to like forget that it's just 1 year. So on Wednesday afternoons, usually classes stop at 12, so there's a lot of free time to like engage in like different clubs. I was a part of the arts club, so that's also a great opportunity to meet people, do things other than your degree, and try and look at London. So yeah, the master program is intensive, but please take out time to do other stuff apart from school, so you have a 360-degree experience.
Okay, thanks, Neddy. Carlos, would you have anything to add to that?
Okay. So in my case as Nadia, I'm doing a master's. You will find probably in the department that you have quite a balanced work and lifestyle situation in terms of being able to join clubs, being able to go to different, the sports teams that you may like. And as well, you are able to have a good amount of lecture time. And then you can compensate that with both studying at the library, which is like what most of us do, but you will also find many seminars, many groups, many ways in which you can go beyond your own possibilities through research and through meeting new laboratories that are doing what it's the state of the art really in their own things. Basically, I will say that your time is something that besides the study part, something that you are able to create on your own and plan. And if you're able and you will always find something to do at Imperial, even if it's from something that is more recreative to something that's more about taking your professional career to a new point.
Okay, thanks, Carlos. Another common question that we have, because biomedical engineering, I guess, is relatively, not every university offers it. A question that we get is, how did you as current students decide that you wanted to study biomedical engineering, and what does biomedical engineering mean to you? Alan, do you want to start off on that?
Yes. Right. So the reason why I studied biomedical engineering was because I want to focus on really medical applications for engineering wise, because most cases that you've seen on a lot of unis are basically mechanical, electrical, and I really want to focus on the medical side as well, because I think this is a booming industry, and also I would love to develop my career in this industry. And I would say the biggest difference between biomedical engineering and other like major courses are we also focus on the medical side as well. So which is a great thing that if you love basic anatomy and in addition to engineering skills as well. So which is really a good mix of both sides, especially for undergrad, because for the first 2 years we study some general basic engineering, electrical wise for electrical engineering, and also for mechanical. And then in third year we would then get to choose either computational, biomedical stream, and mechanical, and also electrical. So you literally get a taste from 4 streams in the first 2 years so that you have a taste of what you'll be getting into until you need to choose a path in third year.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Alan. Dimitra, what about you? How come you chose bioengineering?
So when I was in high school, I liked a lot of subjects. I think most people have this problem where it's like, oh, I don't really know what to do. I really liked biology. I really liked physics and math. And my math teacher actually took bioengineering as, I guess, before she became a math teacher. She studied it in college, and she was telling me all about it, and I thought it was really interesting, and that's kind of why I chose it, because it does have a little bit of everything, as Alan was saying. And for someone that's like interested in so many things, that seemed really, really good for me, because I could kind of put off the choice about what I wanted to do and get involved in some mechanical stuff with like building medical devices, or if I wanted to do some more coding in regards to like medical imaging, I could do that as well. So I think that's probably why I chose it, just the diverse careers that I could go into afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Dimitra. So I'm going to now move to a couple of these questions in the chats. One question that we've had is, how difficult is the coding? How much coding do you get? I think that's quite a common question. So to lay that out across how it works throughout your degree, in your first year, you'll be introduced to C, which is a very basic bare bones programming language. And it's what you call a low level programming language. In your second year, you'll be introduced to C++, which is a higher level language. And as you do projects, because your degree will have a second year group project, a third year group project, and a fourth year master's project for an undergraduate degree, you'll have to learn other programming languages on your own. You'll be introduced to MATLAB, which is a platform where a lot of statistical analysis and things like that are done. You'll probably learn Python at the end of it, and you learn how to code microcontrollers like Arduinos, interface with microcomputers like Raspberry Pis. So there's a lot of programming that happens, and you learn a lot of it on your own as you do these projects. Right. So going back to our list of questions, I guess we have some questions which are like regarding halls and accommodation. Some people are asking, should I stay in the halls? Which halls are good? How do I choose a place to stay? Ria, do you have something to say about that?
Yes. So I stayed in Byte Hall for my first year in college, and I'm gonna keep staying in halls basically for the next year, and hopefully for the for the duration of my other years. The reason why I made this choice is because I really love the interaction with so many people in halls. Like there's always something going on, and you feel like you're part of a community. For example, in my case, I'm sure like everyone in other halls can agree, like can argue something similar. But in my case, for example, Byte Hall is also quite close to the main campus where I take all my lectures, and it's like quite a big hall, so you always have people around to say hi to. So I felt like I really enjoyed my first year there, so I really wanted to keep staying there. But like I know for a lot of other people, private accommodation works better for so many other reasons, and I think you should do a lot of research on that point. Like ask people, see what works best for you, and then make an informed decision on what you wanna choose.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Does anybody else have anything else to add to that about accommodation and halls? Dimitra? Yeah.
So I stayed in Woodward Halls during my first year, which I believe most of the accommodation that is offered now is going to be in the North Acton area. And even though it was really, like, not really far, but it was a train ride away, I really liked it. The rooms are really nice, and it's such a massive building, and like there's so many people. And I find even now that like I see people just passing by that I actually lived with like in Woodward, and it's really great, and there is a whole like sense of community there because you are so far away. So you'll see like in the mornings the trains are just full with Imperial people. So it is kind of basically like having a massive apartment building and just all Imperial students. So it is quite safe. I have been living for the past 2 years, I've been living in private accommodation. We rented places. I'd say for an international student like myself, it's a bit more difficult in terms of like the guarantor situation, but they do offer options like Imperial has a guarantor scheme. You can pay your rent like a few months up front, a bigger deposit. And I quite liked living with just a few of my friends. I found that to be really nice. While at halls, you can live with some people that maybe you don't like, but if you live in private accommodation, you can really choose a tight group of people that you can stay with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on average, what will happen is you in your first day, most people who don't stay in London will move to halls because it's a great opportunity for you to make friends. And then after that, since accommodation is not guaranteed for few further years, they'll find small groups of friends and find flats or apartments to kind of rent out in London with their friends. And in terms of, I think one question we get is about how much accommodation costs. The simple answer to that is the further you are from the center of London, the cheaper it gets. And so you'll have to accordingly figure out, what works for you, how much time you're willing to commute and things like that. Right. So moving on, I think we have a general question here, which we get is, what are the future prospects for biomedical engineers? And for that, I think I'd want to start with the master students. Carlos, do you want to talk about what you'll be looking at after you graduate?
So in my case, right now I'm graduating in some time that after I finish my master thesis, but I'm looking at future or possible PhDs. But as a general rule, most of the people are looking for jobs in the bioengineering sector, the biomedical engineering field. They are not finding any problems looking for jobs or getting ones. Even right now with the lockdowns and with the pandemics, there are multiple of my friends and partners that I know, they have been able to get jobs, and they are seeing, and you can just look online in databases, but it's a very new play. It's a new career that it's, well, not quite new. It's been here from the 90s and so, but you can see there are more jobs and more and companies are more keen to get new employees every day. I think it's a very exciting sector in all its sense, because basically they're looking for very holistic engineers that are able to do well in computation, but as well they have some knowledge of tissue or, for example, anatomy, physiology. And that's something that more and more you see that even main engineering companies are switching or moving towards. They're pivoting. And so I think it's a very, it has a very exciting prospects in the future. And you can really see that looking at databases, how many new companies are being created. At Imperial, we see that, for example, we have career talks that it's weekly, it's a bi-weekly event that you can go to. You can see there are multiple startups in the UK and Europe. There every year they are being created and they're looking for talent, and Imperial really provides that type of talent. So you will probably, if you go to Imperial, you will probably find yourselves needed to be one of those prospective employees.
Thanks, Carlos. Neddy, do you have something to share about that as well, about employment and opportunities after bioengineering?
I think we have most of it. I think the program itself is quite robust in the sense that you can do pretty much almost anything. Like you can go into consulting, you can do core engineering, you can decide to go down the path of research. So I think biomedical engineering, especially at Imperial, gives you the opportunity to have a wide range of options because there's so many skills that you learn and you can apply across board in multiple industries. And like Carlos said, the career service or the career scheme is really helpful. There's an entire department dedicated to like helping you look at your CVs, helping you ace interviews. So Imperial sort of sets you up to succeed right from the start. So I don't think career options are anything that any prospective student should worry about. Like there's like loads of resources to help you out.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a great answer. Those are some really good points about the career service. I want to just take a second to offer maybe slightly differing views on a couple of things. So one thing that's brought up is, okay, biomedical engineers, you learn a lot of things. Do you sacrifice speciality or depth in that pursuit of interdisciplinary knowledge? In some cases, it can be, yes. However, how the degree is structured is that when you start in your first year and your second year, you're doing a generalized kind of study. And as you progress into your third and fourth year, you'll be choosing more elective modules. And then students tend to figure out what they like and kind of specialize in a sense. You get to specialize either as an electrical student or an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, computational engineer, pure bioengineer. And that then helps you become more competitive for any kind of job placements and things like that. Another thing is that just reiterating what Neddy said earlier is that once you do bioengineering, you're not limited to bioengineering. She's absolutely right. Lots of students go into the city to work in finance. They go into general engineering jobs, software jobs. So it's not kind of, you're not locked into bioengineering. That being said, the bioengineering industry is growing well in the UK. However, there aren't that many companies that are doing pure biomedical engineering. They'll have some component of it. So those places can be more competitive when you're looking for jobs and things like that. All right. Right. Okay. Next question. How do I, as a prospective student, prepare to start my degree at Imperial? What do I need to learn before I come? Should I be studying something? Everybody has different backgrounds. How do I deal with that? Does anybody want to talk about that? Ria, you've just finished your first year. Maybe you can tell us what you did.
Yes, so what I would suggest is, first of all, take some time to rest, like reward yourself for all the hard work that you've put in getting all those grades to come to Imperial in the first place. And if you really, really want to prepare about something, I would suggest, for example, if you've done the IB like I did, I was taking biology, chemistry, and math, so I didn't take physics. So I felt like I had a lack of confidence in my physics knowledge, if you will. So if it were up to me, like I would have prepared more about the physics side. But looking back on the first year, like nothing that I could have prepared for, like spend all those hours during summer preparing for, basically would not have helped me that much. Like I would suggest start the year first, take a look at, like, for example, you start electrical engineering, like take a look at the book, at the concepts. For example, if you need to learn what, I don't know, what current is and like what voltage is, like maybe have a look at that, but like do not go into so much depth, like, because maybe you won't ever need it, like, and you'll just be spending time from your summer, like, needlessly, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a That's a good answer. Yeah. So you don't need to necessarily prepare. You're absolutely right. The first year is structured in such a way that they're trying to bring everybody from different backgrounds up to the same playing field and the same level in all these subjects like maths, physics, and biology. And I think for the biomedical degree, you don't need a background in biology. And similarly for the molecular bioengineering degree, you don't need a background in physics, although I could be wrong. But yeah, okay, I've been told that I'm right. Great. Thanks, Rhea. Does anybody else have anything? Neddy or Carlos, did you guys do any preparation before you started your master's degrees? No? Okay. Oh, Carlos.
So I would say that the master's level, it's quite good for everyone, even if you don't come from a biomedical engineering background. There are students that come, for example, from neuroscience, or that come from more biological sciences, and they do not have very big problems going to the same level as people as, for example, myself, that I graduated in biomedical engineering. Even with that, you have plenty of support with classes that prepare you, for example, for computer programming, if you haven't done any before, and then you have plenty of support from professors, from lecturers, even if you don't understand some key concepts. As a rule, they do not expect you to learn something that they expect you to have a biological engineering background. But even if you lack some of the other, if you have more, you come from more, for example, more from biology or more from engineering, you don't have any problems going or reaching the same level as your peers, I would say.
Neddy, would you have anything to add to that? Or?
Yeah. I'd say really try and get like a handle of your math and MATLAB if you can. I mean, you can always learn it when you do start the program, but if you have time before the program starts to sort of like brush up those two specific concepts, would be really helpful. I think before we started, the department actually gave us a platform where we could like brush up on some math concepts. So it was really, really helpful, because you're going to be using those different things across the entire year. So, I mean, if you have a head start and you're able to do it properly, that's just the best option. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good answer. Thank you. So another common question we're getting is, okay, so the first term for the next academic year will be done online. Does the current panel have any experience with that? How do you stay motivated while studying online? How significantly different is it? How do those things work? I want to take a second to answer that from my personal experience. I've worked as an undergraduate teaching assistant, and in our final term last academic year, while everybody was at home, we were remotely teaching programming and running sessions to troubleshoot programming. So what we learned is that, of course, there are certain challenges and it's not the same, but there are certain advantages that we didn't see about learning online. We didn't have to repeatedly answer duplicate questions. If you answer a question once on a particular forum, you can just link the next people, who have the same question can just find that. That made it really easy on Teams, and there are other platforms like Piazza, where you can post a question, an academic, so one of the staff members can have a look at it, answer it, and then everybody else has access to that answer as well. And you can post anonymously, things like that. Another advantage is that a lot of your lectures will be recorded. You won't have to listen in on the lectures live. Some tutorial sessions will be live, but the lectures will be recorded. And if that's the case, you can pause the lecture, take some notes. You can play the lecture at whatever speed you want, 1.5 times speed or 0.75 times speed, depending on who the lecturer is. So Imperial and the bioengineering department is not compromising at all on the learning outcomes of the degree. What that means is at the end of your first term, you will still come out with the exact same knowledge that you would have if the classes were taken in person. The entire team, all the staff is working really hard to make sure that they accomplish that goal, and it seems like it's definitely a feasible thing for them to be looking to achieve. So I have full faith that at the end of your first term, you will have the same knowledge, and you'll be able to do it, learn those things pretty well. Does anybody have any other experiences they want to share about remote learning that they've had in this last term? You could just raise your hand. No. Okay, cool. Oh, Ria. Okay.
I would just add about the staying motivated part. for me personally, like, sure, living with your family, I was in a mindset of being on holidays, like, because in the past 3 years, like, the only reason why I come at home is during holidays, like either Christmas or summer. So I couldn't quite get my mind around the fact that I needed to be studying for exams, for example, while being at home. But still, I would say plan your day the same way you plan your day, where when you're at Imperial or like when you're on campus. For example, if here at home, like I was sort of distracted by my family, like when I'm on campus, I'm sort of distracted by my friends in that sense. So as long as you have the kind of discipline to not procrastinate and like do things when they need to be done, you'll be fine.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks. Trying to see. Sorry, I was looking at a question and now it seems that I've lost it. Okay, so good question that we keep getting is what is the practical knowledge that you developed during your degrees? Are there opportunities to do any kinds of research, work with professors themselves? How much do you learn through your projects? So does anybody have any experience on the project? So maybe research opportunities that they've taken at Imperial that they'd want to talk about? Alan?
Right. So, yeah. So during the last year's summer, I've taken up a research project. Usually in Imperial, there's a thing called undergrad research. Usually it's during the summer because you're not doing your degree. You will be allowed to do research under a professor or a lecturer, so that you can work on his project and learn a lot more stuff on like MATLAB or coding or some wet lab skills. It can that's what I did last year. So I was basically working on microfluids for drug delivery, and I've learned quite a lot. I've learned how to use LabVIEW, which is another kind of software for analysis or like for image analysis, and MATLAB, and also Arduino programming and some circuitry as well. So I would say yes, there's there's usually a lot of opportunities if you're during the break of your studies, because usually Imperial wouldn't recommend you taking up your time during your studies, as it would jeopardize your academic as well.
Thanks, Alan. Dimitra, you've also done a research project. Do you want to tell the students about that?
Yeah, of course. So last year I also did a Europe, and it was regarding neurotechnology. I worked on a fly robot interface. So a lot of the stuff I did was things that I wouldn't have come into contact with just in like my everyday like degree life, I guess. I was doing dissections on flies, which was quite like fascinating to me. I mean, most people are like, flies, but it was, I had no idea that such research was going on in the department before I started my Europe. I was actually talking to one of my lecturers and I found out a little bit more about his research. So we as a department are working on some really groundbreaking things, and a lot of their lectures do offer Europs for students. Some of the tasks are things that they've just been wanting to get done for a while and just haven't been doing. Others, you could propose a little project yourself and they might be interested. As we also have projects that you work on with the lecturers in third and fourth year. So I did a synthetic biology project this year, which was quite a different change of pace because I've been doing a lot of coding things and I was just in the wet labs the whole time. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity to get involved in what you like to do with your lectures and stuff.
Thanks, Dimitra. Just to round that up, so what that means is, as an undergraduate at least, each summer you can do an undergraduate research opportunity. You basically approach a lecturer, a member of staff, around sometime in January or February, and you learn about the research, talk to them, see if they have any open projects, and maybe you can get a project for yourself during the summer. Sometimes those are paid and you'll receive a stipend. You'll have to apply for that. Sometimes they're not paid. Apart from that, of course, London is a big business center, and nearby you've got Oxford and Cambridge, which are big hubs of science and technology. So if you're looking for internships in different fields, you can definitely apply for those as well. And apart from these research programs, in your second, third, and fourth year, you'll be doing very in-depth engineering and research projects, which basically have a lot of hands-on learning. So you'll be getting the research aspect of things even during those. And Imperial, I think, is special because of the amount of emphasis it puts on practical skills and the amount that you're expected to learn just through doing things, trying things out. Right. So we have a question here that's about kind of balancing out your social life and your academic life. And Imperial, of course, has all these wonderful societies to join. So how have you guys found it balancing your academic, social, and say extracurricular lives? And what would you recommend to students who are coming in who are trying to figure out how much of time or resources they should be allocating to these different things? Yeah, Rhea?
So I was gonna say personally, we get this question as well a lot, like how many clubs and societies is it recommended for me to join? It all depends on how well you can manage your time. For example, I was playing a little bit of volleyball this year, and rather than, well, it was just once a week, so it was not that demanding in terms of time. But if you have something, let's say if you're gonna play a sport like almost professionally, and it's gonna be like several times a week, for example, what I find with these things is that they actually motivate me to get everything done before the time, because like I know, oh, at this time I have to go there and play, so I need to finish everything by then. Whereas when I don't have anything to do, I just procrastinate it, and see, I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to do today, so like I have time to do this later. So in a way, like joining those clubs and societies will help you organize your time better. It will motivate you to get things done. So depending, like regarding how many societies you're willing to join, I'd suggest you go to college first, see how you're managing the workload, and then see how much free time you get, and then decide whether you could join like one more extra society or stuff like this.
Okay, Alan?
Right. So for first years.
Yeah, keep going, Alan.
Okay, right. So first years are basically, I believe it's Wednesday, you get a half day off. So you will no longer get any lessons after 12. Usually it's recommended that you join any types of clubs and societies. So for my case, I was in the fencing team. So usually I go to fencing in Wednesdays, but if you usually if you're in a club, then if you're just a normal learner, then you go into Wednesdays. But if you're also a team member, then you might need to do extra training days as well. I would say most of the activities are in weekdays. So if you really need to catch up on your studies, you can do it in weekends. I would say if you are a professional athlete, then I'm sure that you have been managing your time with your sports and your academics throughout your secondary school life. So I believe if you're able to manage that during a secondary school, you should be fine with university as well. I would say, as long as you don't procrastinate, you're able to hand in your coursework on time, then you should be fine. Because I know a decent amount of people who usually studies in like weekends, or even in worst case scenario, like in some mostly in weekends, they usually get good grades, like in most of the time, in most cases.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have experience juggling these two things, extracurriculars and academics, and have any tips for the students? Okay. I just want to wrap that up. Just reiterate what Alan said, which is that Wednesdays you only can have lectures 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then it's like time for sports after that. So essentially you've got Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, which will be a bit heavier. And yeah, most students, I think a general rule of thumb is to join up to 2 societies which take a lot of time, like say something like sports societies take time because you have to go play the sport, come back. Whereas there are some more casual societies like book club, which meets maybe once a month. So, you can join quite a few of those. So once you join, you'll figure out which ones work for you. And I guess one of the best pieces of advice I got is when you start in your first year, You have the opportunity to try out a lot of sports and activities that you've never done before, and for very competitive prices, if not for free. So definitely go try whatever you can, whatever weird sport you've never played before. There's such a range that I can't even, start putting into words what all I wish I had tried in the first year. So try it out, see what works for you, and everybody finds something and they make a lot of friends that way. One question I wanted to quickly address is someone has asked, are there going to be welcome events this year where I get to meet my cohort since we'll be starting online? And Dimitra's already answered that in the chat, but I just wanted to say this for everyone that different societies will do different things for the incoming students. Ourselves, as the bioengineering society that we have over here, they'll be organizing these online events where you'll get a chance to interact with your cohort before you say meet them in January. There'll be kind of online games like we've already run some events where we've played Pictionary, we've played charades, we've had a lot of these little online games. They're actually quite fun. We have good engagement with those, and you get a chance to meet people from all around the world sitting, at the comfort of your home. And then you'll know them when you finally meet them, maybe in January. Oh, right. Okay. So some students have asked about finances, so mostly for international students, but for everyone in general, right? London is an expensive city to live in. So the main questions are, one, how do you cut down on costs? And two, are there any jobs or ways that you as a student can make some extra cash while you're studying? Does anybody have experience with either cutting down on their bills or taking up a second job? Yeah, Alan.
Well, I would say the biggest thing is to cook your own meals, because if you're essentially eating out every single night or getting takeouts, then I'm pretty sure that you'll run really low quickly. So basically, just cook more, cook for your own. You can start cooking like during the summer so that you will know you will get better. So I would say it's not that big of an issue as long as you're good at it. I would say the more you cook, the less time it would take you, and you'll get good at it. I am sure about that. And for like earning during London, I would say some people do tuitions, like online tuition, online tutoring. It really depends on your time, because some of them do online tutoring after schools, which is basically on your discretion, and some people do part-time work in the union, which basically you can do shop like cashier in the reception in the union, but these are all your own discretion that you need to assess the management between your time and other stuff.
Right. Anyone else who's done any kind of work on the side? Dimitra, yeah?
Sorry about that, my mic was muted. So I had worked in a bar, actually. It was a bar that was right next to my house, which I really liked just to get some extra money. The only downside was, unfortunately, I did have a lot of things going on during that time, and I was working quite long shifts, which is something that I wouldn't recommend getting into a job that does have really long shifts during like the middle of the year, really. I think in first year, it's a lot more manageable to have a job like that. But in the further years, it's easier to have a job that's a bit more flexible, like tutoring, being a teaching assistant, and things like that. I know there are some programs in, I think, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but you basically sign up to be like a waitress of some sort, and you can see different events that they have, and you can sign up for them, and it would kind of be like a concert or something. If they needed some bartenders for a concert, you sign up like via this app, and then you can choose the hours that you like want to work rather than you have some sort of commitment to them. You just sign up. So yeah, that's the experience I've had with jobs. I'd say like as an international student, the main cost is obviously like the accommodation and the fees. I do find ways to cut down on my day-to-day spending. I try to buy my meals, like meal prep, which is really good. But yeah, that's all I can really recommend. Uni days as well as good bargains.
Yeah, those are some good points. Anybody else have anything else to add to that? I guess.
I think I was just going to mention that London is really friendly to students when it comes to offering discounts. Like she already mentioned uni days, but like always ask for the student discounts and then take your student ID wherever you go. Like it's really helpful if you do that. Yeah.
Thanks, Nelly. That's a good point. Yeah, student discounts are a big deal. Ria?
I was also going to say, check with your governments because you never know what you might find. For example, my government paid for my tuition fees and living expenses for my first year, and I think they're going to keep doing that, hopefully. So it was not an advertised opportunity. Like I just had to like do a lot of research on their websites, and I asked a couple of people. So maybe your government does the same thing as well for international students, obviously. So I would advise. I would strongly recommend you check that because it's like it was a big help for me. Like I wouldn't be able to afford Imperial otherwise.
Wow, what country is this? I need to apply to be a citizen as soon as possible. That's a great deal. All right, that's some really good answers from everyone. I think those are some great tips about living under a budget in London. It is expensive, and yeah, I think those are some good answers. One common question we're receiving on the thread is the course. So just to make it clear, the bioengineering department and the bioengineering student society will not have any in-person events, activities, lectures during the autumn term. They'll only be commencing in the spring term. Is it called spring? Yeah. And so people are asking, hey, should I fly over to London anyways during October? If you don't have any commitments in London, I wouldn't recommend. I mean, if you have a reason to be in London, come to London, but there won't be much for you to do on campus. In fact, the bioengineering doors might be shut to labs and things. I think they're prioritizing master students or PhDs, already existing PhDs and postdocs to use the lab spaces for the autumn term. So unless you have any other reason to be in London, you can save on a lot of rent, on travel costs, things like that by just coming in January itself. Of course, maybe you have some personal reasons why you may want to come to London before that. Right. I just want to give a quick reminder before, so we're about 10 to 15 minutes left to go. Just once again, there's a survey, there's a feedback form that was sent along with the link to this event, which should be in your emails. And if you could just please fill that out after this event, that would be a great help to us because it's the first time we're running a session like this online, and we'd love to know what we can do better and improve upon to make this more useful for you guys. Right. Okay. So I want to cover a slightly difficult question, which is what challenges or setbacks have you faced either looking for jobs or looking for opportunities as a bioengineer in specific, or what are some of the challenges that biomedical engineers in specific face? Does anybody have anything to share about that? Yeah, Alan?
I guess I can talk a bit about my internship right now because I'm working on internship in Hong Kong Science Park. My whole team, my project is basically working on a visual heart rate. But just solely by using a infrared camera, you can detect your heart rate and your pulse oximetry. The whole team itself are all graduates from computer science and electrical engineering. But they did indeed they did take up two biomedical engineers, both from Imperial. I would say yes, you might not know a lot of stuff, but I would say they are very keen on taking you up because at the end of the day, you do have a bit of biology knowledge. And I would say it's really a steep learning curve. And also, you can learn it on your own leisure time. You can also put it on your CV. So I wouldn't say there's a major disadvantage because everything that you can put it on your own CV, and people are more keen to take you up even if you are not really from a more advanced or a very narrowed discipline. So I would say there isn't much to worry about because even I got a job within a whole team of electrical engineers. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Anybody else faced anything? I guess I could share from my own experience. So like Alan said, what will happen is if you're going into a pure software job, which is not biomedical engineering, and you're in a group of there's other computer scientists, they'll probably know more when they're starting about pure software. So you'll have a learning curve that you'll have to overcome as you start. Similarly, if you go into a purely mechanical field, you'll face these setbacks at that time. I faced it when I started an internship in a purely computer science field last year. So for the first week, I was really struggling. But after that, like Alan said, a lot of those things you can learn on your own and pick them up on the job. As long as you have the foundation which bioengineering gives you, you basically learn how to learn and the fundamentals of how to think about engineering problems and problem solving. So those setbacks are temporary and they're definitely you can overcome them. But it's there, right? Another thing that we usually face is if we go to a careers fair, biomedical engineering as a degree hasn't been around for as long as electrical, mechanical, and computer science have. So you as a student will have to make more of an effort when you're talking to recruiters, explaining to them what skills you have, what you know, because some of them may not be as aware about what biomedical engineering is. You say bioengineering and they might think, okay, you're working with plants, they don't know. So you need to explain to them, hey, actually I specialize in electrical kind of work, I know circuitry, I know this, that. So there's some extra kind of push that you as a student will need to put when looking for those opportunities. But definitely, it's definitely possible, and most of our bioengineers end up perfectly fine at the end of it. Right. I made a slight error in a previous answer. I think I said that there will be 0 events on campus in the autumn term. So apparently the union will have a limited number of certain events. I'm not sure what those are. I guess you can follow the union website for that. But the bioengineering department and the bioengineering society will not have any events. Right. Okay. Someone's asked a very classical question. Oh, sorry, Dimitra, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was going to say that I know that some departments might be doing some in-person classes or lectures or labs or something like that. So if you do hear of someone else that is at Imperial that is doing something in person, like don't worry, like the bioengineering department for right now, we're planning on opening in January. If anything changes, like another pandemic starts up again, then we will notify you. But for right now, you're supposed to be in person in London in January for your course. If you want to come for the in-person events that the union has, I guess feel free, but there's nothing that's mandatory that you need to be here in the autumn term.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's hope for no second pandemics. So getting to the other question we had was, is biomedical engineering a very competitive and stressful course? When you start the course, how do you find it being around your peers who are also similarly, I mean, they've all gotten into Imperial, so everybody's smart. What's that feeling like, and how do you navigate those initial weeks of, this new environment where everybody's smart? Ria, do you have anything to share about that?
Yes, I was gonna say, first of all, be prepared. Like, you're coming to Imperial, like obviously you're gonna meet some of the smartest people you've ever met. And that, like, for example, in my case, I thought I would be intimidated by this, but when I actually came and met those people in person, they were extremely supportive and extremely friendly. And I stopped being intimidated from that point on. Plus, the department is very particular and puts a lot of emphasis on not being very competitive and being more focused on helping each other rather than being greedy on grades and whatever. Also, one thing that my group of friends and I did is we never talked about our grades. So, for example, when it comes to my best friends, I have no idea how they've done because I avoided asking them so that people start feeling bad about their grades and everything, which is something we actually did in high school. And I thought okay, we're not going to do this in university. Also, one thing about bioengineering is because it's so interdisciplinary and people come with so many different sets of skills. Like if you're good at maths and someone is good at more the chemistry part, let's say, you can help each other and work together so that you can fill your gaps in knowledge, and that was really helpful for me.
Thanks, Ria. Carlos, do you have anything to add to that? And then Neddy?
So I would say that for the master's program, it's not you come from a different perspective than from undergrad. So you already know why you're in a master's, you want to go even farther with your some specialization. So people there, especially they come from different undergrads they've done, different degrees, even they've probably done a master's before. So that you have a quite interdisciplinary group in which people will come from different backgrounds, and they already have done their work in the undergrad. So I would say that in the master's is very cooperative, at least compared to my first years of undergrad. People that came to Imperial were very aware of what they wanted from the program and what they were demanding. And they had different ways, and they were very diverse in their own interests. So some will already know what type of research they would like to do in their master's project, and others will probably find out during the course. But mainly, what I would say is the main point of this is that people that do a master's program do not want to be competitive as of grades. It's more collaborative and more individualized. So you already know, or you learn what you want during your master's, and you already come from a university environment. And I would say that there wasn't much of a competition compared to, for example, the first years of your undergrad, or as people told me from their own schools.
Thanks, Carlos. I think that's some really good information for the master students. Neddy, did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, I did. It was less about competition and more about collaboration with my cohort. So I don't think I actually ever experienced anyone trying to, sort of prove that they were better than anyone else. We all just sort of understood that everyone had different individual specific skills. And when we're put into groups, you could see sort of mimicking what happens in the real, like in actual jobs and actual work. Each person was good. So one person could be good at programming, another person good at design, someone else good at organizing things, and then someone would serve as a team lead. So the program actually helps you recognize that each person has individual strengths, and then everyone brings their strengths together and collaborates to give like a finished product. So there wasn't a lot of competition for grades per se, just like Carlos said. So yeah, it was more collaboration. Fair
enough. I'm very, very glad to hear that. I think as a representative, when I speak to the department and the staff, I know that what you're seeing is something that is by design. They've really, really wanted to make the course and the way it's assessed in such a way that students are incentivized to be more collaborative than competitive, and the competition that does exist is very healthy. And you know what you're talking about different team players having different strengths and all is absolutely true. When you're starting as an undergrad, it can be challenging, like they said, and everybody, you're used to being the top 10% of your class, and that's why you're at Imperial. But now just statistically, you're probably near the mean. You're about 50%. That can be a bit jarring when you start up. But
sorry, yeah. Sorry.
Go.
No, I was just gonna add something along the lines, but yeah, sorry, just finish.
Okay, and then I'll pass it over to you. But you kind of get over that little bump, and then you realize that we could, like Neddy saying, I'm not saying anything new. There's different avenues of intelligence and competence, and everybody kind of has their strengths and weaknesses that work well together. So yeah, Ria, yeah, please.
Yes, sorry. I was just going to say, for example, one other thing the department was doing was they wouldn't release a class average. And when I first came to the college, like I felt this was very, very irritating because you never knew where you were standing in terms of like your classmates. And I talked to one of the lecturers, like, how come we're not getting a class average? Like, if I get just a number that means nothing to me, like, how is this going to help me? And now looking back, like, I understand the rationale, and I think it's like a very good decision. And they were saying we don't want to make people feel bad about their grades. Like if you got a grade which lies slightly below the class average, we don't want you to feel like you're falling behind unnecessarily, or feeling kind of inferior to your classmates. Whereas that grades means nothing. It might just have been like a hard test or something. So they don't release a class average just so that people are less competitive against each other. Like you don't look at your classmates right. In the sense like, oh, these people are doing better than I am. So this was also very helpful.
Thanks, Jaya. I think, yeah, that's a very good point. So we're nearing the absolute end of this session. We're a minute to go, so I'll just try and wrap this up by thanking all of the panel members that we have here. Once again, just going going through them. We've got Ria, we've got Alan, we've got Carlos, Nedi, and Dimitra, who's had to just leave a little bit early. I think everybody's given some great answers and great insight into what it's like being an undergraduate or a master student. Once again, please fill out the survey that we've sent regarding this to your email IDs. And if you have further questions, don't hesitate to email the admissions department of bioengineering, the admissions email ID. And yeah, I mean, I'm graduating, but I'm guessing Ria and Alan are going to be excited to see many of you next year.